good morning. Back with another video. Like, share, subscribe. I got so much to talk about. But what we getting in today, America is broke. And y'all need to understand that. America is broke, 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 broke. We $35 trillion in debt. And we actually, our interest monthly is $1 trillion. There's no money coming in. There is not. America is broke, broke, broke. Let's get into it. And I really like the senator. I can't think of the man's name though. Hold on 1 second while I find it. Oh shoot. We about to get into it. Hold on. Here we go.
Friend from Missouri. Thank you. Actually, and sometimes I come behind these microphones, and often what I want to share, what I need to share, it's my therapy, is a bit dour. And it's sometimes fun to listen to someone that actually has happy and joyous. All right, now that the uplifting portion of this program is over, let's get to the facts. Mr. Speaker, now Madam Speaker Pro Tem, you see the number, 35 trillion. Guess when we hit it? We should be very, very excited and proud of ourselves. We did something that so many economists said we would never get to this quick. My math says this 3 p.m., the United States gross debt will cross over 35 trillion. Now understand, that's not the way Europeans calculate our debt, which they calculate our debt dramatically higher because of our obligated unfunded liabilities. But you're going to watch the Treasury Friday about 3 p.m. post up a number, $35 trillion. We did it. Congratulations. And how many people have you heard come find the microphone today or this week understanding, wanting to talk about that? What we've gotten is people coming behind the microphone and not telling the truth. We all want to protect Social Security. The way you protect Social Security is you know the math and how it actually works.
Now, don't that make sense? You know the math and how it works. And you have people, and this is why you have to vote out your senators and House of Representatives are the most important. Those are your bodies of government that pass laws. And they don't have a clue, and we keep the same people in there. They old, decrepit, they have been compromised, and we keep them in there. They need to be, all of them need to go. Like I said before, all of them need to go.
We're on track in a decade to double senior poverty. But God forbid any of us tell the truth about math.
That part.
Because the truth gets you unelected and a bunch of really angry ads at home. So this place runs around and avoids telling the truth. So let's walk through another little factoid. My math basically says this year, 45.68% of all the income tax collections, receipts, your government takes in just cover the cost of interest.
Now, didn't I just say that? Everything that come in now covers the cost of interest. There is no money. They just printing money. Y'all need to wake up. It is a financial collapse that is coming. Bank of America will be done. You only need to leave enough money in the bank account to pay your bills. It's coming. It can't help but implode. It has to. Babylon the Great is falling. It's failed. I'm trying to get up out of here there, for real, for real. I'm just waiting on God to tell me when to go.
I've been coming behind the microphone and saying, hey, interest in 2024, this fiscal year, would be somewhere around a little less than 1.2 trillion. I apparently have that wrong. It's probably going to come in about 1 trillion, 140 to 60 billion dollars. Either way, I'm off a fraction. But 45.68% of every dime we're collecting in your income tax now just pays interest. And I've tried to say over and over and over at home and other places, and you get people to just stare at you and go, huh? Who really runs this government?
Who?
Seriously, it's an honest question. I need you to think like adults. Maybe those who actually went to a finance class. Who actually now runs this government? I'm going to argue the debt markets, the bond markets from around the world. If you have to bring almost 10 trillion to market this fiscal year, 2.25 trillion virgin new issues because we're borrowing, that's like $75,000 to $80,000 a second right now. And the economy is good.
You're borrowing $70,000, $80,000 a second. That is unreal. Unreal. I wish I could borrow that much money a second. Hell, I wish I could borrow that kind of money in a day, in a year. A second. America's done.
The actual baseline data on GDP is good, and you're still burning almost $80,000 a second in borrowing. What happens the second you have a U.S. debt auction that's undersubscribed, or there's not enough people there? What happens to U.S. interest rates? How much of the world goes into depression? But we're going to talk about that. Oh, God, no.
How much does the world go into a depression? You can't make this up. You can't make it up. Then what is this senator name? Let me see. What is his name? I love him. Oh, David Schwarzenegger. I think he out of Ohio. David Schweikert. He be on them numbers because he's what? A finance major. He on them numbers.
No, because that would require math. That would require being serious. You know, we passed a bill here earlier today. I voted no on it. And look, they worked hard on it. They lowered the top line spending. But you got to deal with a really uncomfortable discussion. Every dime a member of Congress votes on is borrowed. Okay, listen.
Every dime the Congress votes on and approves is borrowed money. Let that sink in. It's borrowed money. That's living beyond your means. That's living beyond your paycheck, which most Americans do, and include myself.
That's that. Every dime a member of Congress votes on is borrowed, and depending on some of the projections, about a quarter of Medicare. Social Security has its own trust fund. It runs out in like 9-10 years, and then we got to figure out what's going to happen there, and we can continue to get Democrats coming behind the microphone.
And you heard Social Security run out in about 10 years. They said 2034. Yeah, that's 10 years. That's 10 years.
Lying about it, which makes it almost impossible to actually lay out the math and try to fix it. And remember, raising the cap, doing the Democrats' plan of $400,000 up and just raising the cap only covers about 38% of the shortfall. You had the president in that debate last month saying, if we just tax rich people 1% more, And I have a chart in here that will show it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the shortfall. Remember, if you take $400,000 and up, the Democrats' definition of rich, and you tax them at 12.4%, you only cover 38% of the shortfall. So 1%. And this is the nature of our discussion. When every dime a member of Congress votes on is borrowed, is it moral to borrow money here to send it to entities around the country, even though their programs, many of them I love?
Wait a minute, and we steadily sending money. We done sent over 200 some billion to Ukraine. We sending money to Israel. We sending money to all these money that we don't have. That is borrowed money. Make it make sense. We broke. We are not the wealthiest country. China is, but China having some financial problems, and Japan just dropped 22 trillion of U.S. Treasury debt. They dropped it. Nobody is buying our bonds like that, especially if you went into the BRICS nations. That's totally against the petrodollar, our dollar. People are not buying our U.S. Treasury bonds anymore. America done. Wake up.
The right thing. I just think the way we finance it isn't. Is it right to send them cash to that city, to that state, to that county, and they have their own taxing authority? They may have more cash in the bank than we do as a percentage. Do you borrow money? Because that's what we're doing today. We're borrowing money.
Now he's saying the states and city got more money, cash, than what your government has. Oh, that's messing up. Than your government has. This is serious.
And the crazy thing, when you do the adjustment for the ability for interest to be tax exempt from municipal debt, we have municipalities in this country that have a better credit rating. Have a better credit rating than the United States.
Now that's bad. That's because everybody dropping the U.S. Treasury bonds. Our credit rating was downgraded. It's not A. I think it went down to B, if I'm not mistaken. But you got cities and states with a better credit rating than the U.S. government. Y'all have no idea how dire this election is that's coming up. How dire the fall of America really is. How dire this situation of living here in America is going to be.
Remember, Greece can sell a 10-year bond cheaper than the United States today. We are number 14 on the credit stack, meaning there's 13 other countries that can sell a 10-year bond cheaper than the United States. And if you read the instruments, if you read the Moody's, the S&Ps, their documents and their reps and warrants and their analysis on U.S. debt, they don't trust this place. They do not believe Congress, particularly because it's our job. We're supposed to be the adults in the room. We make policy. The White House carries it out. Remember that little thing, the Constitution? Maybe someone tried reading it. And they don't trust us. They don't, and they have no reason to trust us. How much discussion have you heard, anyone who's been listening to these microphones this week? Heard people like me, which maybe I'm just an idiot for actually giving a damn. Get behind these microphones and actually walk through the math and explain there's a way we keep our promises. There's a way we meet our obligation for the earned benefits. There's a way to make this work. You don't have a lot more time to keep screwing around, but if you do it in the next 3-4 years, this is another American century. I have my 8-year-old sitting over here. I also have a 2-year-old. My wife's exactly my age. Yes, I'm pathologically optimistic. The math says her generation will be the first generation to live poorer than her parents. Great morality, guys. Very proud of us. And anyone who listens to my diatribes here, thank you. I think this is almost like my therapy session, because I get angry all week long listening to absurdity and people saying things that mathematically have no basis in fact. 100% of the debt, and this makes everyone angry, and it's factual. 100% of the U.S. debt from today through the next 30 years is demographics. Huh? What's demographics? And this is your country's leadership. It's demographics. We got old as a society and we didn't set aside the resources to keep our promises. And since 1990, U.S. fertility has been falling. I won't use the word collapsing, but last year.
Now, and then you talk about you can't have it both ways. You're pushing the LGBTWXYZ agenda for years, and then you wonder why your birth rate is low. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You're pushing an agenda and then wondering why your birth rate is low. Make it make sense. It does not make any sense. Keep looking at that. That keep coming up. Go ahead, Senator.
May 2023, 1.63%, maybe 1.62% fertility, meaning the United States now has fewer children than much of Europe. Now tell me how I build a pay-as-you-go system to keep our promises to those who paid into Social Security, those who paid into Medicare. And remember, the Medicare taxes you pay only cover about 38-40%. And there's, okay. Oh, what the hell? Why don't we do this right now? Social Security does not add to the U.S. debt, technically. But the paying back the money that was borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund does.
That
so
part.
There's some $3 trillion some dollars that have been borrowed out. And for the last few years, every month, there's not enough tax collections coming in on the FICA tax at 12.4% to make the payments to Social Security recipients. So every month, I want you just to visualize this. Social Security says, hey, Treasury, I'm holding a bunch of your bonds. You owe us some money. And they cash them in, and Treasury goes and borrows money and pays interest for that borrowed money. So Social Security doesn't create the debt, but Treasury does, because Treasury has to go out and borrow money to pay back the money they've taken out of the Social Security Trust Fund.
Now, did y'all know that they was taking the money out of the Social Security Trust Fund meant for the American people who have retired and paid into the system, and then they pay it back? That's why Social Security will not be around. And what's going to happen to our seniors? What's going to happen to me? I'm at retirement age. Uh-oh.
And if you add it all up, plus interest, and forgive me, I'm partially doing this off the top of my head. I calculate maybe $6 trillion, three plus in principal, and then over the time the interest paid back is probably another $3. How many times have you had anyone just try to be honest about it? It's not Republican math. It's not Democrat math. It's just math to be avoided because we're terrified of our voters to tell them the truth because we've lied to them for so long. How many times have you had a Democrat go around here and say, if we just tax rich people more? I've done entire presentations here, and for us on the Republican side, if we just cut discretionary spending, well, damn it, I can come up with about $300 billion in discretionary can be cut down. They'll be screaming, but that's still 1% of GDP. And for the Democrats, every tax hike they genuinely propose that could be executed when you adjust it for its economic effects would be about 1.5% of GDP. So you got 1.5 there on tax hikes. You got 1% in cuts over here. Hey, it's a big 2.5%, right? Right? 2.5%. We're borrowing 7% of the entire economy this year.
We're borrowing 7% of the entire economy. Wow. America is broke, broke, broke. 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 Come on.
Good job, guys. And I guess part of my anger is I love some of the people I work with here. They're smart, they care, but they run away from me when they see me coming because I want to talk about this stuff. This chart is the pie chart of America's spending. Do you see this number? 74% is in the red. The red doesn't get a vote from a member of Congress. That is on autopilot. It's called mandatory. It's earned benefits. Some of the benefits you get because you're part of a certain tribal group or you fall below a certain income. But this is earned. You see the blue? It's defense and non-defense. Every dime in defense is borrowed. Every dime of what we call...
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, shoot, I done lost it. Every dime of defense is borrowed. Lord, I done lost the video.
It's a psychological... Friend from Missouri. I love some of the people I work with here. They're smart, they care, but they run away from me when they see me coming because I want to talk about this stuff. This chart is the pie chart of America's spending.
Look at that.
Do you see this number? 74% is in the red. The red doesn't get a vote from a member of Congress. That is on autopilot. It's called mandatory. It's earned benefits. Some of the benefits you get because you're part of a certain tribal group or you fall below a certain income. But this is earned. You see the blue? It's defense and non-defense. Every dime in defense is borrowed. Every dime of what we call non-defense discretionary is borrowed. And a wedge of this over here is borrowed. And when you see over here, when we say net interest, I've tried to explain the net difference between net interest and gross interest. Net interest this year will be $892 billion.
$892
That's
billion.
interest we pay to people out in the world. Your pension fund, a nice family on the other side of the world, the union retirement fund over here, they buy U.S. debt. The other debt is we owe to the trust funds. We've borrowed the money from the trust, but we still have to pay it back. We still have to pay it interest. So it's one of the great cons we do in our budgeting here is, well, its gross interest is only $890 billion, Schweikert. Why do you keep going around saying 1.2 trillion? Interest just this year. It's because that other chunk of interest we got to pay.
Gotta pay.
And we're going to have to pay back the principal, just as I just did the explanation on how Social Security works. So once again, if you're a member of Congress and you're doing a town hall or putting out something and you're not showing this chart, you're not helping our brothers and sisters across the country understand how serious this election is, how serious putting people in office that stop pandering to your need for a dopamine hit in your brain, but maybe own a calculator. Once again, I can make this math.
Now, he said that. Didn't I just say that? I just said that. I'm going to come back for part 2 because I try to keep these things done. Okay, I'm going to come back for part 2. I'm trying to break it up. All right, let me end this.